What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. And it is Tuesday, which tends to be one of the slower days of the week for football stuff. We don't have practice. We're not going to get any kind of an injury report. So it's a good day to talk about something like this. And what of this? This is a big one. This is one that I'm really excited to see, and I really hope that it actually happens. We're going to talk a little bit about a Seahawks coach from the somewhat distant past. And a lot of people who watch my videos probably don't even remember these days. Some of them were not even alive for these days, but I certainly was. This was the era of Seahawks football that made me really, really big into football. So, Mike Holmgren. Yeah, we got to talk about Mike Holmgren here because he is on the cusp of making the Pro Football Hall of Fame finally. It was 20 years ago almost. We're coming up on 20 years pretty soon here that Mike Holmgren left the Seahawks and left NFL head coaching. And it looks like he's got a real chance of finally making the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I got the article from Field Goals up on screen here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the short version is that he is officially the coaching nominee, the coaching finalist for the Hall of Fame this year. There were a collection of really good coaches up for the honor this year, including guys like Mike Shanahan, Tom Coughlin, and I think George Seifert was also part of the group. And also, actually, another former Seahawk, Chuck Knox, was part of that group. Mike Holmgren has beat them all. And now he only has to get over one more hurdle to actually make the Hall of Fame. The committee is going to vote on this in a couple of months here. And if 80% or more of the committee votes yes, then Mike Holmgren makes the Hall of Fame. And this is obviously a pretty strong indicator that he will, because, again, it's either him or it's nobody. The committee doesn't get to vote on Tom Coughlin or Mike Shanahan. And by the way, I think both those guys should probably make the Hall of Fame too, eventually, but they will not be up for it. Either Holmgren gets in or nobody gets in as far as coaches go. So I'm here for it. I'm excited for it. And to me, if Holmgren doesn't make the Hall of Fame either this year or at some point in the next few years, then this is kind of a joke. I mean, what do you have to do to make the Pro Football Hall of Fame here? Mike Holmgren, obviously the tremendous success he had as the member of the San Francisco 49ers coaching staff in the 80s, went to Green Bay, was the one coach who was able to consistently and reliably keep Brett Favre under control. I mean, we saw Brett Favre under Holmgren win 3 straight MVPs, win a Super Bowl, be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, versus under every other coach just be completely out of control and still be a good quarterback, but also be somebody that was really hard to consistently win at the highest level with because he was so out of control. Holmgren had the special sauce, and no one else did. And he had great success in Green Bay, made 2 Super Bowls, won 1, had the team competitive consistently, making good playoff runs pretty much every year. And when he left, there was not nearly as much success. There was some, but not like Holmgren had it. And then he goes to Seattle, and to me, I don't think that Mike Holmgren is the most successful Seahawks coach of all time. I think it's pretty much impossible to argue that at this point. Carroll was the coach in Seattle for longer. He won more games. He made more Super Bowls. He won a Super Bowl. I completely understand that Mike Holmgren was actually outdone by Carroll a couple years after Holmgren left. But to me, Mike Holmgren will be always the most important coach in Seahawks franchise history. I really believe that. Because he took over a team in Seattle that had been destitute for almost a decade. No real success for almost a decade. And had gotten so bad they almost moved. They almost moved to LA. And he went in there, immediately made them competitive. And after an extended period of time where there were some bumps and bruises, partially because he was trying to act as general manager as well, that didn't work so well, eventually got the team to the top. He got them to the Super Bowl. He had them in the playoffs, 5 straight years, 4 straight divisional titles. And for someone like me, who when I was really little, knew the Seahawks as a loser franchise that never won anything and would never win anything, and was just happy to win a few games every now and then, for somebody to come along and put the team on the right path to being able to actually make a Super Bowl, to actually win division title after division title after division title, to make the playoffs over and over and over again, to win, I think, 4 playoff games in a 3-year stretch. To me, you can't top it. So what he laid as a foundation, him and Paul Allen in Seattle, in my estimation, led to everything that has followed from Pete Carroll. Like, Pete Carroll did amazing things in Seattle, but Mike Holmgren was able to lay the foundation of a successful organization that Pete Carroll got to take over after a couple of bad years, right? Holmgren's last year was really bad, and then the Jim Moore Jr. year was really bad, but Pete Carroll was still taking over a franchise that actually had a really good infrastructure in place at the top, thanks in large part to Holmgren. So to me, he will always be the most important Seahawks coach of all time because he pulled them out of complete irrelevancy, and we were, again, one step away from losing the team entirely. And Paul Allen and Mike Holmgren, to me, were the main reasons why things got to reverse. And I think that's even more valuable than a Super Bowl title. So I've always thought that Holmgren needs to get in. It's not just the wins. It's not just the championships. It's not just the league MVPs. You got, 3 MVPs from Brett Favre. He got 1 MVP from Sean Alexander. I can't remember exactly which years he was the San Francisco, on the San Francisco coaching staff, but there were some MVPs there as well. It's not just all that stuff. It's also the coaching tree. Remember, Andy Reid and John Gruden both came up in the Mike Holmgren coaching tree, right? Andy Reid, now one of the greatest coaches of all time. When he retires, he may be known as one of the 5 greatest coaches in NFL history. Andy Reid came from the Holmgren tree. John Gruden, Super Bowl winning coach in Tampa Bay, had success in a couple other places, moderate success, but some success from the Mike Holmgren coaching tree. And think of all the stuff that has come from the Andy Reid and John Gruden coaching trees, right? Think about Sean McDermott. That's a guy who came up from under Andy Reid, right? Think about somebody like a Doug Peterson. And I know Doug Peterson's a bit of a punchline now, but that's a Super Bowl winning coach. There are a bunch of other guys could go to as well, including some guys that didn't necessarily have head coaching success, like a Matt Nagy, but they still worked as a head coach for a period of time. So the coaching tree, to me, might even be more compelling than anything else. So I'm rooting for Mike. Hope he gets in. He deserves it 100%. He's not remembered as one of the best coaches of all time, but I definitely would consider him to be one of the most important coaches of all time. And if he's not one of the best, he's very, very close to it. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think.